Hey everybody, Audrey here, the Fit, Fearless, and Faithful Mom. Thanks so much for coming back. If it's your first time joining me, welcome. I relate fitness to faith, and I have a little sprinkle of homeschool and a whole lot of life chatter in there. Today, I am doing a book review on this book, Defending Boyhood. So it is no surprise to anyone right now that I have been a bookworm more than ever, and I saw this book posted by Father Nicholas Blackwell a few months ago, aka the Frank Friar. I'll link him down below. He has a fantastic channel and fantastic insight. He also writes, so I'll link all that so that you can follow him too and get a little bit of his frankness. So he posted this and I was like, that looks really cool. Defending Boyhood, how building forts, reading stories, playing ball, and praying to God can change the world. And man, it's pretty catchy. I mean, you see the title and you see like it's a baseball diamond and it's dirty. And I thought that's pretty neat because I have 3 godsons and I have a son myself. And I thought, okay, that's pretty neat. Let's get cracking with this. If you have a son, and I'm gonna throw this out there, if you have a son and he talks about being a superhero, this is the book for him and you. And here's why, is because it will turn your son into a saint. You know, when I first saw the title, Praying to God Can Change the World, you know, building forts, reading stories, playing ball, praying to God can change the world. That last part is really what drew me in, because you hear about being a man of God. How do we get our sons to be a man of God? And I thought, well, Mr. Esalen, I'm gonna give this a crack. First things first, this is a quick read, which is nice. It's story after story after story of how we turn boys into men of God. Now, it opens up by talking about navigating through uncharted waters, and you know, when we go to mass and what used to happen going to mass, how boys and men used to dress themselves and hold themselves. So that's all in the introduction. Now, it then goes into talking about Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, and something that I never really thought too much about. He goes into boys being about their father's business. And that doesn't mean that their father has a business. What kind of business on a daily basis does a father have? Now, when we talk about Jesus, he was Joseph's apprentice, essentially, for a little while. Joseph had a carpentry business, Mary ran the household, and so Jesus was about Joseph's business. He learned carpentry. He learned how to be a man, how to go about daily manly stuff. And then he would see Mary being her feminine self. And it's this beautiful harmony in this chapter talking about this. And so he was about his father's business. He was always with Joseph. Now, here's one thing that, you know, St. Luke talks about. It's when Jesus had stayed behind, right? Jesus is, you know, he stays behind in the temple. Mary and Joseph, they leave, and then like, oh my goodness, we left Jesus. They go back, and what does Jesus say? Jesus says, where do you think I was? Okay, now what the author explains here that is really cool is, and I'll read this first part to you. The plain fact that at 12 years old, he should seek out the company of the masters of his faith and ask them questions and agree to be grilled by them in return. The boy naturally looks towards certain kinds of men who will grant him the liberty, intellectual and spiritual combat, to dispute and fight about the highest things. It has all the delight of a game, with rules and the wonder of a search into mysteries. And so then he goes into, it's becoming a lost art for boys to seek out noble people in their life, to seek out people who are intellectual, to seek out their father's business. It goes into taking things apart and putting them back together again. When was the last time that you saw a boy or a man take something apart and then put it back together again? I'm gonna venture not that much, if at all, because our society has turned into this instant gratification society where we have an iPhone that can tell us everything. We have things done for us at the drop of a hat. How do we turn boys into men if they're not able to take things apart and put them back together again? It's pretty difficult to do that. And so one of the coolest things that was in this book too, and you can stretch this into just, like male and female too. We see so many times men not wanting to go to church, right? Well, men are natural seekers and they want answers. Now, people want answers, but I'm just focusing on boys and men right now because of this book. What's really cool is that how do we get to know God if we're not taking the earth apart and exploring it? If you're just having your child go through the run of the mill of school and then sports and things like that, and you're just on this constant like do, then how are they actually experiencing the God-given earth? And so I go to, well, this goes along the lines of let the little children come to me. If your child is not tearing apart the earth, tearing apart a bicycle, tearing apart a toy, and then putting it back together again, how are they able to understand the truth, the beauty, and the goodness that is? Because when they're able to do that, then they're able to see where things actually come from. But if things are continuously just handed on, then how do we have a true appreciation for anything? So this book has me really thinking like, look, I am going to brag on my husband all day long. He's not just a handyman. He is able to take things apart and put them back together again. And I'm so thankful that, and I feel really, really lucky for my kids too, for our kids. Cody can build things from scratch. He grew up taking things apart. I think, his bicycle, his mom didn't have enough to buy him a bicycle, and so he worked for a bike. And when his mom was like, all right, what parts do we need? Well, when he got enough money, he would go buy okay, what part do I need now? And then he would put that bike together. So he had an appreciation for that. He just built my dad for Father's Day a brand new record table because records are awesome. And my dad has a record table. And so he built my dad a record table from scratch. The kids followed along and have been following along with him. We need to get our boys dirty again. Get them dirty. Make them go roll around, tear stuff up, because that's getting closer to God. Are you following me with this? The author goes through men, and this is something that has kind of drives me crazy about our society, is that husbands and men in general are treated as these dumb buffoons who are just barbarians carrying a club around, dragging a club, and they need a woman to save them. No. Boys can fulfill who they are called to be in the eyes of God. This book outlines it. It's an awesome read. And so the author, at the end of the book, he kind of reels it in, and he talks about, the lost art of singing for boys too. And how back in the day, a group of boys, as they'd be cutting up in the woods, there were these quartets that they'd form, hey, who's got tenor, who's got bass? And it taps into their soul, which is so beautiful. Deep down, boys crave authority as well. They crave a challenge. They crave someone who challenges them. And they crave a high bar. We need to start setting a higher bar for our boys. One of the final things that he talks about in here are several prominent political figures who didn't like each other at all, but they respected one another. And that's one of the things that our society has lost, is the ability to argue effectively. One of the last things that I'll leave you with is at the end of the book, he quotes Father Weir. I'm pretty sure I'm saying that right, I'm sorry. When education is under direction of the church, the entire man is educated. The physical, intellectual, and moral part of man is trained. To neglect the training of any part of man is to develop a monstrosity. We need to educate our boys. We need to let them tear stuff up, put it back together, let the little children come. We need to create men of God, a man after God's heart. I don't really want to touch on, feminism and all that, but we need to, I agree with what he says in here, do a little less talking about toxic masculinity. But I believe that men and boys should be protected more, to be raised up more, to be raised in the church, because then we are defending boyhood, and then we'll be raising saints, raising men of God, and raising men who are superheroes. Go ahead and check out this book. It's in the description box below. It really is a fast read, and it's a fast read because there's just so many stories in here, dozens and dozens of stories and explanations along with it. Highly, highly recommend this book. Love it. Go check it out. If I can pray for you in any way, please let me know. Would love to hear from you. Let me know what you're reading right now too. Have a great week. God bless. Take care, everybody. Bye.